Thetan Watch. It is June 18th, just after lunchtime. Over on Michigan Avenue right now. I'm going to walk into the org, see if we can capture anybody that way. Chances are, as we head over that direction, we might see some of the staff members returning from lunch. I did kind of choose this time. I've only got about an hour to be out here today. That the expectation is, right, there'll be people returning from lunch. After we see people returning from lunch, they might start organizing to go out and do sidewalk recruiting. I've had a bit of a dry patch lately, right? Sunday, we did follow one of the body routers for quite some time. He wasn't able to pass anything out, but for the most part, right, it took me off the podium board for quite a while. I'll say in the future, once they get to a certain distance away from the org, I probably want to let them go, unless I know they're going to a dense location. So if I knew they were going to Wrigley Field or something like that, yeah, I'd follow them. Morning, Karen. Welcome back. If they're passing out flyers more than a mile away from the organization, it's much less likely that somebody's going to take the initiative and head over to the organization and see what this flyer is all about. So yeah, I understand that it's, you know, playing the odds, but that's kind of the way that I have to look at this as we move forward. We're still in the middle of a heat wave. You know, if you're in the Midwest or the Northeast, I definitely hope you're taking care of yourself, making sure you're staying hydrated, keeping your skin covered, stay out of that hot sun. Right now, we're walking down Harrison, coming up on Wabash. I'm going to switch over to the other side of the street just because I want to be on the south side of Harrison when we get into those last few blocks. I do have some of the business cards with me just in case I need to be able to hand those out. Remember, the goal is to try to interrupt the recruiting process as much as possible. Help prevent people from going through what many of the ex-Scientologists and second gens had to endure while they were inside. If you're not really aware of that, you know, usually my early audience is pretty well aware of the process, but right, so Scientology, it's a space fantasy opera as a philosophy. Right? There's this belief that trillions of years ago, an alien in a faraway galaxy, due to overpopulation and rounded up the worst offenders, brought them to Earth in DC-8s or DC-10s. But again, were written by a science fiction author in the 50s and 60s, so that was the most advanced form of flight available. So he was not even an imaginative science fiction writer. They brought those Thetans, which are the beings they would call, rounded them up, brought them back to Earth, put them in volcanoes, and exploded them with hydrogen bombs. And now they sell you the religion in hopes that you'll take it on, you'll recognize that you are surrounded by, and you have all of these Thetans attached to you, and our goal is to get these Thetans off of you so that you've only got one Thetan left, right? So the OT3 is, you've got these clusters of body Thetans that are being jerks to you. You want to get rid of them. And then as you keep on climbing up, you become the operating Thetan because only one Thetan survives, right? All men enter, one man leaves. So that's the space fantasy part of the religion. Now you get past the space fantasy part of the religion, and then we have these abuses and crimes that Scientology has committed on its members, and even people who are just against Scientology. But you've got the child abuse, right? There is an activity in Scientology which is called auditing. It is basically an intense interview between a member of the church trying to advance in one way or another on some course or another, talking to an auditor. That auditor is oftentimes a child. Scientology does not believe in children. It believes that children are just small beings who have not yet grown up into their right size for their thetanality. Now, once they, in that auditing session, many people will have told these children either perverse fantasies that they have or perverse activities that they've taken with other children or other people. So they're basically admitting to crimes. And the Scientology auditor has to sit there and listen to it. They're not allowed out of that room, and that's really a lot of what that abuse is, right? Just to have to listen to it in the first place is an abuse. There's a Scientologist coming up the street right now. Again, it's 12:52, so I'm pretty sure that they're going to be walking back to the org. Nope. Yeah, they are. Okay. So you can see the suit ahead of me. Let's see if I can get kind of close to her and then keep on continuing the story, right? That it's an absolute abuse to make a child endure that kind of session, hearing about that information, and having to basically listen to these incredibly perverse stories. Then you've got elder abuse and the idea that as these people age in the organization, they still are required to do most of the manual labor that they've always done. They don't have routine medical systems. They don't have insurance in many situations. Now, some of the staff members, right, that they've got either a secondary job or they're in a couple or a paired relationship where one person might have a salaried job and then the other person is a Scientology staff member. Got the financial abuses, right? So the chase wave was the idea that they had all the personal information of their members and they would open up credit cards in their names, run them up, and then default upon them. They're still known for having the largest infiltration of U.S. government, Operation Snow White. Again, the Scientologists are believing in this idea that there's a creature from many galaxies away who rounded up Thetans, brought them to Earth, threw them in a volcano, and then exploded those volcanoes with hydrogen bombs. Those fragmented Thetans then cluster on humans, and the goal of Scientology is to get you to buy courses so that you can learn how to rid yourself of these Thetans. They are anti-psychiatry. So where we know that there are chemical drugs that help balance the brain, Scientology refuses to allow their members to partake in that. And L. Ron Hubbard had a policy back in the 70s, which was called the War. And the single goal of Scientology at that point in time was to destroy psychiatry and psychology. Coming up on 5 minutes of the hour. And you know that's a cult, and it's a money cult. If you look at that website, you're going to find out that they do all of these crimes. So people have died at this church's hands.
Oh no.
So please look at that. I'm serious. All of those are true stories.
You don't think anything that they do is helpful?
I think at the lowest levels, it's self-help. So that book is kind of a self-help book. It's kind of a self-help book, right? And it's common sense. Now what's going to happen is they're going to tell you that when you feel better about yourself, it was because of the book. In reality, it was common. You're going to find out that it's a lot of common sense.
Okay.
And then they're going to say, hey, now that you've learned this, let's go on this course. And let me spend the money on this, and let me spend the money on that.
Oh, okay.
You'll notice there were a lot of foreign speakers in there. They're brought over as religious migrants from other countries. They don't own their passports anymore. The church hides their passports for them.
I hate that because because what it is that there's a sign there that says, "Are you curious?"
Correct.
Now, of course, I've always been curious because you heard about different things in social media.
Right.
One end of the spectrum to the other, but then I had heard about the thing that they do to help you with loss and grief, which is what I'm going through. Right?
Correct.
And so when I watched the little video about it, I was thinking, this maybe it'll help me move just a little bit because it's been so. But like you said, I do feel like it's like I'm gonna read the book and see what I can glean from it.
Yep.
I'm not trying to change my beliefs.
I know. That's good. I would just say that
like that.
be very wary is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but thank you. I mean, some people wouldn't care enough to even say, hey, don't keep this in the back of your mind and remember. So I appreciate you, and I've got your card. What's your name?
Thank you. My name is Paul.
Hi, Paul. My name is Alpha.
Very nice to meet you. Alpha?
Yeah, I'm an information, a little bit of an information junkie when it comes to grief and loss, because I feel like there's so much going on.
Absolutely, yes.
So any little bit I can do to help me, that maybe I can help somebody else, but I'm not trying to change.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
It's information.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, I will tell you, again, it's common sense. They're going to try to tell you that the reason that you feel better is because of that book. You could have found it anywhere else on the book, anywhere else on the internet to say, what are ways that I can better about grief? And by the way, grief is real, and we do have to overcome grief, right?
Yes.
So.
And I'm just, it's been a lot of grief for me for the past 2 or 3 years. I was like, well, look, I love reading stuff about grief because what I'm doing, I'm compiling the things that I'm doing to help me, and then maybe I can help somebody else because there's so much grief.
I agree with that.
But thank you.
You have a great day.
No, thank you for the insight. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, folks. Sorry, I didn't get the mic up to her until much later. I no idea if they already pulled if the shades were down, or if when the woman ahead of me went inside. Hopefully, you heard some of that conversation from my side, right? I doubt that you heard much from her side. I do have the body cam on, so we'll get the vocals from that later on. Okay, so the woman came out and definitely, she knew the Scientologist that I had been following back to the organization. And remember, I was trying to give the Scientologist the OT3 and some of the clear information, the Xenu story. Let me go around back real quick. It is just now 1 o'clock. So if they're not back yet, they're going to be late getting back, and late isn't something that Scientology tolerates. Again, I don't want to say that if you read a self-help book, and the earliest stages of Scientology have elements of self-help. Again, they'll make a false attribution that the idea that you're better now is because of that book. And that's the thing that I wanted to caution you for. And reminder the idea that says, okay, great, you've purchased that book. When you come back and you say you feel better, they're going to give you some other book, or they're going to give you another course. I do think, so I did give her the card. If any of you have not seen this, I do have a business card that I carry with me now. And it's just easier because it's got a scan code on it so that people can see some of the stories, like the Lisa McPherson, the Serge Del Mar, the Miriam Francis stories. And my hope is she will go home and she does read that, right? I don't want her to have grief, right? But there are a million ways to get rid of grief or to let me see here, cope with grief. By the way, I'm not a Scientologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a sociologist. I'm just somebody that tries to employ common sense as much as possible. We're not seeing anything in the alley. Let's head back up to the front, see if they try to send anybody out. Again, because I stopped to talk to the woman, maybe the Scientologist that went inside did tell them to close the blinds, but by the time I got to the org, the blinds were closed. So they stole my joy. But I hoped I stole their recruit. I think the person genuinely believed what I said. One of the things that I want to remind the audience of is, as I tell them what's going to happen, right? So since I told her that when you get back, they're going to attribute you feeling better to this book, and they're going to ask you to go on to the next step. The next time she comes back, it's very likely that's going to happen, and it will probably trigger in her mind that, hey, that short, fat guy on the sidewalk was right, right? And by the way, I'm a big fan of self-deprecating humor. I don't think I'm short and fat. But I do want that person to recall what I said the next time she interacts with Scientology. I could tell she was crushed because she's searching for something. And again, I said something in Natalie's chat today, and I'll say that there was pushback on what I said. That we do live in an echo chamber, and when I say that, this audience is in an echo chamber, right? We are, for the most part, anti-Scientology, except for you, Osa. How you doing, Osa? We're anti-Scientology, and we hear the anti-Scientology story and schemes so often that we think that everybody must believe that, right? There's no way in the world that people could think that Scientology is a real thing, but it's really, really dangerous to have that belief. Many people are unaware of Scientology at all, and its history and the L. Ron Hubbard funny stories, right? In regards to what's going on in that space. And even fewer people recognize that it's a cult that preys upon you for money and participates in any number of criminal activities from, again, child abuse, elder abuse, human trafficking, right? I let her know, right? You met a lot of people with a foreign accent in there, right? It's very likely that they are a religious migrant from another nation, and the church is going to take advantage of them. The financial frauds, the Lisa McPherson story. I wasn't able to convey to her Danny Masterson, but if she goes to the website, she'll see those stories as well. It is very warm out here today. Looks like they've watered the garden. The police have come by. There's just some civilians coming by, so I'm going to I've got the camera up in the air. Howdy, Rika. You are most welcome for the raid. Yes, Tina, that's a great invention. I like that idea. Oh, we've got Jessica. Jessica's heading downstairs. Now remember yesterday, the woman that just went downstairs, she also works for Dream Exchange. Dream Exchange is a minority-owned venture capital for small businesses. And they employ several of the people who are on staff at this organization. Jessica happens to be one of those people. Yesterday, we would have seen Jessica hugging two very young children in the church. We've got Izzi coming up the street? Izzi, are you allowed to talk about the church? Don't you think it's kind of culty that you can't talk about the church, but you're going to bring this new victim in? When you come out, please talk to me. Got another Scientologist coming down the street. I don't know if you saw it, but she moved the person inside, so the person was walking on the outside of the sidewalk. Hello? Anything positive to share about the church? My audience is looking for anything you can tell us positive about this church. Is there nothing positive about the cult of Scientology? Again, the reason that I moved to the cult is after I realized that the Scientologist isn't going to respond. I want the people on the sidewalk. Morning, Anastasia. Ooh, good yawn tech. Good yawn tech. Love it. Anastasia, they're bringing out her Bluetooth. So with the Bluetooth, they're going to try and drown me out with the noise. Usually my mic is suppressing that. You might hear it a little bit, but we'll keep on talking over it. But I don't know if you would have seen, but Anastasia definitely deployed the yawn tech, right? So she yawned as she came out. Notice JBot has the blue icon for membership, so that's a multi-month member. Thank you so much, JBot. And thanks for modding. I appreciate all the mods, right? When I'm having a conversation with somebody on the street, I appreciate that the mods are there because they're taking control of the chat. They know to remind me if anything significant came up in the chat that I want to go back and relook at it. They're helping you understand that the reason that I'm not responding to chat is because I'm truly engaged with the person on the street. I want them to know that I'm giving them 100% of my attention. I think that the message comes over much stronger. Oh, we've got Chad. See our fellow over here in the red Dianetics shirt? Diagonally up the corner. Curious to see. I wanted to go to the alley, but I'll wait here real quick, let him come across. So you notice that instead of coming across, he's going to take the long way. Hi, Chad. How you doing today? Hope you're staying safe from the heat. Now he's opening up his phone. He wants to warn the org that I'm out here. Granted, they're all well aware that I'm out here by this point. Turn off that other mic so you're not getting too much sound from down there. And that mic would have let the music bleed in. Still no activity back here. We're 10 after, so I'm not even, I'll say this, that I do think that Chad is on duty today because he did have long pants and the Dianetics shirt on, which would have been the uniform of the day for him. My pleasure, Kendra. I wish it was under better circumstances. By the way, if you want to see only Chicago, head over to Windy Wanders the City. Curious if these are Scientology vans. So these are all coming from Pennsylvania. It might just be a sports team or something like that, but right, you've got 3 vans in a row coming in. I'm seeing a lot of young people in there. We'll see what happens there. Sorry. So as I was saying, that I'm very confident that Chad's still down there on the street. He's just now in front of the Imprint Hotel, or Imprint Apartments. You can see the red shirt moving away from me. If you head over to Windy Wanders the City, I'll just take a walk around a neighborhood. Recently, we've seen the Gold Coast. We've seen Old Town. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday morning, we did the murals of Pilsen along the metro tracks. Guys, I'm just a little bit interested in these vans to see if it's, college students returning from something, a sports team, or if it's in any way Scientology related. I don't recognize Newtown as a neighborhood, but I will tell you that neighborhoods change names every once in a while. Ravenswood, I very much do, and there's Will's Tap is a great place. It's a very nice, out-of-the-place tavern up there. Ravenswood is one of the streets that mirrors the metro tracks up on the north side. Yeah, I'm always impressed with the artwork that a muralist can put on a wall, whether it's a smooth surface or even like the brick and the grout, and the idea that it looks incredibly detailed on such a challenging surface. And oftentimes I think they're using spray paint, which adds another bit of complexity to the process. Folks, I'm just kind of hanging around here. I want to see all of those people come down from come out of the garage. We have nobody in the back. I'm just one of the reasons that I skate between the alley and the street is so that I can see if somebody comes out the front or the back door. The 3 vans that came in, if you can see, there's a ramp in there, so they went up the ramp. I'm going to stay up here at the top of the street. I have good eyes on the door. I'll widen that out. I have pretty good visibility on the door, and there's nobody coming in or out right now. I can see all the way to the end of the street, and I see no uniforms coming up. Now, Chad is likely going to cross the street and either try to come up the sidewalk here, or he'll move all the way back to the alley and come up. Again, the goal is not to, if you're a Scientologist, the goal is you better not be on my camera, and do whatever you can to stay out of the blast radius of all of the malarkey that I'm telling you. Sadly, the malarkey that I'm telling them is absolutely true, and they won't find out until they get further up the ladder. They have to understand that they're in part of a money-making scheme, right? Because the goal of everything they're doing in here is to get people to come in and buy a book or buy a course, right? Now, they're told from the positive side of that it helps us as humans, right? They're here to save humanity. Thank you, Lorraine, for that. Thanks for heading in. Today only, and tomorrow, and forever, subscriptions will be free. If you subscribe and you hit that notification button, oftentimes I have to I'll start on short notice because I will capture a Scientologist in the wild. and I'll go live either early or I'll go live without announcement. I also sometimes go live without announcement just because I don't want to give Scientology the heads up that I'm coming over, right? Yeah, absolutely that idea that the hit rate on selling books or passing out flyers to get people to come in that door, even if I wasn't here, and sorry, that's not fair. Even if no protesters were here, because I don't want it to sound like I'm the only one that stops people from coming into this location. There are several Scientology protesters that are out here quite frequently, and we all have a hand in trying to disrupt their ability to recruit people. But if we weren't here, how many people would want to go in? But when we are here, how much more does that crush those numbers, right? That early on, I was basically undefeated in regards to telling people that, right, here, this is a cult, here's the reasons why you don't want to go in there, and getting the flyer back or getting them to hand the flyer back to the Scientologist. They have had some successes. There have been times where people have heard me and still walked in. It's also very disruptive, not disruptive, let's see here. It's sad to me when you'll hear somebody, I'll tell them that this church won't let women, this church won't let women report crimes if they're committed by a member of this church. And people just kind of shrug and go in anyhow. It's like, you're a woman. How can you possibly think that's okay? Still no real activity down here. I did see some comments go by real quick. Folks, I think we recently saw Dodge Landisman talk about, hey, how about if we get on the East Hollywood Community Board? And I do think that's a good idea. You should get invested in your own communities. I'm going to say, Scientology aside, if there are things in your area that you don't like, the police are too brutal, the schools aren't up to quality, there are no parks, don't hope that that changes. Try to take action, and you'd be surprised how easy it is to take action. Now, I'm not going to say that it's easy to be successful, but it's easy to take action. And if enough people take action, we will see change, right? I see another, I think they're walking alongside somebody who is in civilian clothing. So I kind of want to hustle down there, just in case it is somebody that's being routed in. Oh no, I know it is now. It's the tall female that we're about to see is somebody who would often be walking to and from the org with Chadwick. And I just think they were on the same shift. I don't know if you can see, but she hides her face, right? So she hides her face so she can't be seen. The tall one is a key holder. So oftentimes we'll see her, she's able to go in no matter what. Yeah, Lady Jane, right? Lady Jane. I have historically said and consistently said, I believe that every single one of these people that's wearing a uniform is a victim, right? They do believe in what they're doing. It's just that their beliefs are wrong, right? So, but the idea when somebody says, "Come with me, we're going to go change the world," you're like, "Heck yeah! Where do I sign up?" And at the earliest levels, as I told the woman, right? I don't know if she bought Dianetics or what book she would have purchased, but they have a lot of common sense helper mechanisms in there. And while L. Ron Hubbard is the most sold author, or he has the most books sold. He plagiarized one hell of a lot. He didn't have a lot of original thoughts, right? Earlier you heard me tell you the Xenu story. Well, the Xenu story is that DC-10s and DC-8s are what Xenu brought all of the Thetans to Earth. That was the transportation vehicle. Well, it turns out that was the most modern transportation vehicle at the time he wrote it. So his imagination was so thwarted and stunted that the best he could come up with is a modern era plane. Right? That's how the Thetans got here. So these people will come in and they'll read these books, and again, with the common sense of, hey, be kind to one another, golden rule, right? Feel better about yourself if you're depressed, right? Do these, exercise is one of those things that helps in some of those spaces. And by the way, I am not giving you any medical advice. I'm just telling you that a lot of these things, if you have a low-grade symptom, just exercise, right? Having a positive thought is helpful. You read a Scientology book and you have a positive thought and you feel better, and now all of a sudden you attribute the idea that your healing is associated with Scientology. I should probably go get the next book, or I should go do the next thing that the Scientologist asked me to do. I can't give you an exact year of the DC-8 and the DC-10, but I'm going to say they were 60s. That's my best guess. I will tell you that oftentimes, if Declared Dave's in here, we'll have that answer soon. Michael Andreas is in here, we'll have that answer soon. Early on, I remember Trashy used to call Michael his own little Wikipedia. Other things to kind of be aware of, and again, maybe you don't believe in some of the sciences of the Earth or anything of that nature, but the Earth didn't have volcanoes trillions of years ago. It was mostly a smooth ball. We probably didn't have water yet. No idea if there were tectonics yet, if there was a molten core in the middle of the Earth. So the idea that there could have been volcanoes when they came is absurd, right? And then the likelihood of hydrogen bombs, on top of that, rather interesting. Thank you. I love chat. Nora, I definitely hope you're feeling better. I would offer you the touch assist, but it turns out that actually doesn't work. Medication and hydration are far better. Okay, so this is fairly good news. Do you remember the 3 vans that we saw come in? Here's the cluster of kids that came out, and I just don't recognize any of those as Scientology related. Plus, they're going in the opposite direction of Scientology. So they're going to be here for some other reason. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. I was listening to Mark Bunker's new video, and it's on a different death attributed to Scientology. A female named, her last name starts with an M, but she lost her life at the hands of her son. And much of the story was that her son absolutely displayed signs of mental issues. And rather than take the doctor's orders, they went with Scientology and chose not to treat it with the medications which are required to help stabilize and balance a mind that is struggling like that. It's another one of those things that I think when a green recruit, right, the lady that we saw at the top of this video who I was able to interact with, she would be a green recruit, brand new to Scientology. In Scientology, they have a much more terse name for it. I don't like it. But that green recruit, those are the kinds of stories that absolutely make them stand up and say, wait, what the heck is this stupid religion? Yeah, Neuro, that's one of those things that, you know, Lisa McPherson, in all likelihood, would have survived many years had the Scientologists not forced her to leave the hospital against medical advice. So for those of you that don't know this, right, she's in an accident, she has a bit of a mental break, she's found on the street, the police take her to a hospital. In here we would call it a 5150, but basically a psych eval or a mental evaluation. The Scientologists find out that she's at the hospital. They get a group together of high-level execs. They put pressure on her, tell her, "Hey, get out of here. We can get you. We can fix you back at home." I think it was now it's 17 days is the number I think it was. 17 days later, she went into crisis. They tried to get her to the hospital. Scientology made another tragic mistake. Instead of going to the nearest hospital, they went to a hospital where there was a doctor who was in Scientology that could ally with them. That she was pronounced DOA at that hospital. It was later discovered, well, she was definitely emaciated at that point in time. She had tears in her skin. She had all kinds of scratches, all kinds of distress on her body. And it was later determined that she had been restrained. The Scientology cure for what she had is to leave you in a room and let you stew. And eventually, your bad times will fall away from you. That's the thought process, and that was the rundown that she was put on. I think it's introspection rundown. But that is what, in reality, hastened her death, right? Had the Scientologist never found out she was in the hospital, right, that would have been incredible. But these are the tactics and the things that this church finds as normal, right? Chad is just now heading back to the org. He's got a gallon of water with him. Right, so here we got Chad coming down. I waved at him. Turns out he didn't wave back. Yeah, and I have to imagine if you have any medical history, hearing that story has to be one of the most troubling things. And the story about the son who took the life of the mother up. So, right, they're coming out to see if it's safe to body route. I don't know if you saw that, right? So they both took a little peek out. Give it a shot. That's a pretty incredible superpower I have, right?
It's a scary place, man.
It is.
It changed my life.
100% anti. 100% anti. Yeah. He said F Sciento, but in long form. So as we saw there, right, they were going to try and get the body router out. The woman in the red headdress has been a body router. The blonde woman next to it was Jessica, and she's done body routing before. They came out just to see if I was heading away, right? The woman in black with the pink purse, she was originally going to come out this door. She saw me. She walked back to the other door so that she wouldn't have to go past me. Just for fun, since they wanted to get her out, let's go to the back door. Now, something I need to remind y'all, I've really only got about 15 minutes here. I'm going to go with, I think we had a save today. I know that the woman already purchased the book, but my ability to give her some information, leaving the business card with her with a scan code that is so easy to then get to the website and see more of so the website that I send them to, it shows the generalized crimes of Scientology. Also on that website are Chicago-specific articles. And the Chicago-specific articles are things like, how did the fundraising occur here? Who are the people in this org? Who employs the people in this org? Who is Joe Cicala? We've seen Joe Cicala a lot in this organization. So Joe Cicala, the father, owns Dream Exchange, and he actually is a junior. So there are 3 Joe Cicalas. We've never met Joe Cicala, the eldest. The father is now classified as a civilization builder, and what that means is that he's going around trying to fundraise for other Scientology orgs. He is also the lawyer who was there the first time that Nance Drew had to go to court and Chadwick did not show up. On the recent subsequent return, he was not the lawyer of record. So the guys here, these are not Scientology. These standing behind Pat's Pizza. I'm not sure even what they're doing here. But the brown, so that brown container, that's a grease container. That's not a garbage container. So if you're in the restaurant industry, right, you'll recycle the oils that you're doing any of your frying in. That's what that brown container is. We'll head back over to the street to see if they again tried to bring her out. Joe Cicala's son is the executive director here. Sorry, I don't think I got to that part of the story. So he is the highest ranking person at this building. He's the executive director of the Day Org. An ideal organization, I think all organizations, but I'll go with an ideal organization, has 2 shifts, and they're both independent organizations. They have what's called the Day Org, and they work basically days. And then there's the Foundation Org, and they work evenings and weekends. Joe Cicala III is the executive director. He and his wife they either got married or renewed their vows here last month. And at that point, we were able to see Joe Cicala, the father, have to sneak in the back door. And the thing that I really liked about it was all of his guests got to come to the organization, which he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and that Scientology has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and it was all closed up, right? The blinds are closed, the doors are closed, and this is his ability to pridefully show off the thing that his son does for Scientology. You see if we got any comments here. So Pamela SP Butterfly, Dream Exchange. Dream Exchange claims to be a minority-owned stock exchange, and it's for venture capital. So you're not trading stocks so much as you're trading small businesses. You're trading parts of a small business. So she's out right now trying to pass off the flyers again. The first person said no. Sorry, and so the reason it's minority owned is the found partner is Joe Sakala. He would not be considered a minority. His partner is an African male. So that's where they get the minority element out of it. And many of the staff members of this organization are also employed there. She didn't want the flyer? No? It's really hard to pass out that culty stuff. How's Xenu doing today?
You want one?
Sure.
There you go.
Thank you very much. So today it's the season 6 Scientology version. So reminding you as my audience, right, that Scientology is based on the idea that an ancient alien it's the cult of Scientology. You don't want that. Here, this will tell you all the crimes that they do. Can I have that flyer? Be very, very careful. It's a money cult. People have died at their hands. It's the cult of Scientology. If you ever want to see any of the crimes of the church that just gave you that flyer, here's all the crimes that church commits. This is the crimes that church commits. That flyer you just got was from Scientology.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
All right.
It's on for somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a nice day. You know it's Scientology, right? So that's Scientology. They're going to hand you a book of Scientology. She's giving you a flyer to go into Scientology.
Oh, I didn't realize.
And it's a cult, so don't.
Oh, sorry.
That's the cult of Scientology. Do you want that? Can I have it? Thanks. If you want to actually learn what they do, this is a much better flyer to have.
Thank you.
No problem. Folks, I got a client meeting. I just can't be here too much longer. Thank you, JBAT, for the got 'em flyer, or the got 'em emoji. We definitely collected a few. We got a couple of our flyers out. Hopefully that'll help the community. Excellent. Let's head over, spread the love to Miss Kim. Folks, let me get all my camera gear away, and I will meet you over in Miss Kim's chat.